Hey everyone, so ever since I did my last ASMR video quite a few months ago, a lot of you have been requesting that I do more. And while I liked the sound of that, I never really knew what I wanted to do, because I didn't just want to do a normal kind of touchy-feely ASMR video. I wanted it to be something in keeping with my channel. And after a lot of consideration, I decided that it might be a nice idea to combine my love of poetry with one of my personal favourite ASMR triggers, which, as I'm sure you can tell now, is the soft-spoken approach and the occasional whisper. Please forgive the fact that I'm doing this in black and white. My usual filming location is not suitable for this kind of video because I can't get close enough to the camera. Obviously, because I'm whispering and the microphone is not perfect, I do need to be reasonably close. And I don't want any of the harsh colours behind me to kind of be the main focus of the video. So I've decided to do it in black and white. Hopefully it'll be relaxing enough. For anybody who doesn't know what ASMR is, I will put some information in the below bar, but I'm sure a quick Google or Wikipedia search will bring up a more sufficient explanation than what I can give. If you do have any suggestions for other ASMR videos, please do let me know and I will happily consider them. But for now, I'm going to read out a few of my favourite poems. So the video will combine the kind of informal, conversational, soft-spoken approach, and the reading of the poetry will bring in a more structured approach, which I know some people prefer. Some people prefer kind of the repetition and tone of poetry reading, or reading extracts from novels and things, whereas other people prefer a relaxed, more spontaneous approach like this part at the beginning, which I will also weave throughout the video. So I've selected 3 poems for this one, which I think will give the video hopefully a nice length. Please ignore any background noise you can hear just now. I've left this as late in the day as possible until the lighting would go horrendous. I can't do anything about that. But the 3 poems I've selected Fare Thee Well by Lord Byron, and Darkness by Lord Byron, and in the middle of those 2 I'm going to read out Annabel by Poe, Edgar Allan Poe, which is one of my favourite poems. I really enjoy that one. So I hope you enjoy the video. I hope this may appeal to some of your own personal favourite triggers. And as I said, I'm not an ASMR artist. This is not something I will be doing every week, and I won't be kind of doing touchy-feely ASMR with scratching noises and things. But if you have any specific poems you'd like me to read out in the future, or anything like that, do let me know. Without further delay, let's get in with the poems. So the first poem, Fare Thee Well by Lord Byron, I'm reading from this, which is the Oxford Major Works collection of Byron's poetry. I have quite a large and growing collection of collections of Byron's poetry, but this tends to be the one I use for general reading and analysis. It has most of his main ones there. I have other collections that I tend to go to for additional poems, but Fare Thee Well is definitely in here, being one of his major poems, published in 1816, and I will be reading from this one. So throughout reading these 3 poems, I'll be looking this way because I have my book here and the laptop's over there for a different poem. I also seem to have an inability to look at the camera as opposed to looking at the screen behind it. I do apologise. We'll get in with Fare Thee Well. Fare thee well, and if forever, still forever fare thee well, even though unforgiving, never against thee shall my heart rebel. Would that breast were bared before thee, where thy head so oft hath lain, while that placid sleep came o'er thee, which thou ne'er canst know again. Would that breast by thee glanced over, every inmost thought could show, then thou wouldst at last discover 'twas not well to spurn it so. Though the world for this commend thee, though it smile upon the blow, even its praises must offend thee, founded on another's woe. Though my many faults defaced me, could no other arm be found than the one which once embraced me, to inflict a cureless wound. Yet, oh yet, thyself deceive not, love may sink by slow decay, but by sudden wrench believe not, hearts can thus be torn away. Still thine own its life retaineth, still must mine, though bleeding, beat, and the undying thought which paineth is that we no more may meet. These are words of deeper sorrow than the wail above the dead. Both shall live, but every morrow wake us from a widowed bed. And when thou wouldst solace gather, when our child's first accent flow, wilt thou teach her to say, Father, though his care she must forego? When her little hand shall press thee, when her lip to thine is pressed, think of him whose prayer shall bless thee. Think of him thy love had blessed. Should her lineaments resemble those thou never more mayst see, then thy heart will softly tremble with a pulse yet true to me. All my faults perchance thou knowest, all my madness none can know, all my hopes where'er thou goest, whither yet with thee they go. Every feeling hath been shaken, pride which not a word could bow, bows to thee, by thee forsaken, even my soul forsakes me now. But 'tis done, all words are idle, words from me are vainer still, but the thoughts we cannot bridle force their way without the will. Fare thee well, thus disunited, torn from every nearer tie, seared in heart and lone and blighted. More than this I scarce can die. So the second poem I have decided to read is Annabel by Edgar Allan Poe. I must confess it is my favourite of Poe's poems that I have read, at least, and I personally consider it more of a joy to read and to listen to than The Raven, which I know is his most famous work. But personally I think Annabel is nicer in sound, and it's quite eerie in parts as well. So I've got this on the laptop screen, as I don't think I own a copy of it. So we'll read this one. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived, whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. And I was a child, and she was a child, in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than a love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we, and neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabel Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee, and the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. And for the final reading, I will be reading Darkness by Lord Byron, which, if I can confess, is not one of my favourite Byron poems to read in my head, but I find reading out loud is quite interesting. There are some nice sounds in it, so hopefully it will lend itself to an ASMR video. It's not overly long, but it is the longest in this video. And see there, it stretches across both pages, just over 80 lines. So once again I will turn my head and I will read. I had a dream, which was not all a dream. The bright sun was extinguished, and the stars did wander darkling in the eternal space. Rayless and pathless, and the icy earth swung blind and blackening in the moonless air. Morn came and went, and came and brought no day, and men forgot their passions in the dread of this their desolation, and all the hearts were chilled into a selfish prayer for light, and they did live by watchfires and the thrones, the palaces of crowded kings, the huts, the habitations of all things which dwell, were burnt for beacons, cities were consumed, and men were gathered round their blazing homes, to look once more into each other's face. Happy were those who dwelt within the eye of the volcanoes and their mountain torch. A fearful hope was all the world contained. Forests were set on fire, but hour by hour they fell and faded, and the crackling trunks extinguished with a crash, and all was black. The brows of men, by the despairing light, wore an unearthly aspect, as by fits. The flashes fell upon them, some lay down, and hid their eyes and wept, and some did rest their chins upon their clenched hands and smiled, and others hurried to and fro, and fed their funeral piles with fuel, and looked up with mad disquietude on the dull sky. The pall of the past world, and then again with curses cast them down upon the dust, and gnashed their teeth and growled. The wild birds shrieked, and terrified did flutter on the ground, and flap their useless wings. The wildest brutes came tame and tremulous, and vipers crawled and twined themselves among the multitude. Hissing but stingless, they were slain for food, and war, which for a moment was no more, did glut himself again. A meal was bought with blood, and each sate sullenly apart, gorging himself in gloom. No love was left. All earth was but one thought, and that was death. Immediate and inglorious, and the pang of famine fled upon all entrails. Men died, and their bones were tombless as their flesh. The meagre by the meagre were devoured. Even dogs assailed their masters, all save one, and he was faithful to a course, and kept the birds and beast and famished men at bay, till hunger clung them, or the dropping dead lured their lank jaws. Himself sought out no food, but with a piteous and perpetual moan, and a quick desolate cry, licking the hand which answered not with a caress, he died. The crowd was famished by degrees, but two of an enormous city did survive, and they were enemies. They met beside the dying members of an altar place, where had been heaped a mass of holy things. For an unholy usage they raked up, and shivering scraped with their cold skeleton hands the feeble ashes, and their feeble breath blew for a little life, and made a flame, which was a mockery. They then lifted up their eyes as it grew lighter, and beheld each other's aspects, saw and shrieked, and died. Even of their mutual hideousness they died, unknowing who he was upon those brow. Famine had written fiend. The world was void. The populous and the powerful was a lump, seasonless, herbless, treeless, manless, lifeless, a lump of death, a chaos of hard clay. The rivers, lakes, and oceans all stood still, and nothing stirred within their silent depths. Ships, sailorless, lay rotting on the sea, and their masts fell down piecemeal as they dropped. They slept on the abyss without a surge. The waves were dead. The tides were in their grave. The moon, their mistress, had expired before. The winds were withered, in the stagnant air, and the clouds perished. Darkness had no need of aid from them. She was the universe. So I know this video hasn't been extremely long, but I will for future ASMR videos like this. If you wish me to, I can read out either longer poems, or I can read out a greater selection of shorter lyrics. I would be perfectly happy to do that. And as I said at the beginning, I am more than happy to take requests for any of your favourite poems. Please do let me know if you enjoy this kind of ASMR video. I am perfectly happy to continue doing this for you, because this is my own voice. I cannot tell how trigger effective this is, but I know that similar videos from primarily ASM artists does affect me quite well. I get the biggest tingles, as it were, from soft-spoken videos, people reading from chapters of books, things like that. So I'm hoping that since I enjoy watching this kind of video, and certainly I've enjoyed making it, I hope that some people out there will get some ASMR benefit from it. I will try and edit out any extreme noises in this, but hopefully there won't be too many. Please do leave me any feedback you feel necessary, and I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all soon.